Okay. Another category is that children have problems with their feelings. And this is absolutely huge. And so your child may have a great feeling vocabulary, you know, when you're reading books with them at a calm time, and they may be very, very bright and be able to articulate all kinds of things. But when there is a feeling going on, it's very difficult for a child to pinpoint what it is that they're feeling and why they feel that way. So for example, again, your child may be able to say how they're feeling, but it's very difficult for them to pinpoint exactly what's going on. So for younger kids, babies cry, right? That's what they do. They cry, and we go into their room and we figure out if their diaper's wet and it needs to be changed, or you know, and then they get a little bit older and they start to have temper tantrums. It's not unusual for a 3-year-old to have several temper tantrums a day. Some of the things you can do with that is look for the triggers that create the temper tantrums, look for patterns when the temper tantrums seem to start, that kind of thing. You know, and yeah, so you start to see temper tantrums. Kids can be physically aggressive, scratching, biting, pinching. Do any of you experience that with your kids? Did any of you experience that when your kids were 4 or 5? Put your hands up so other people can see. Yeah. And then they start to use their words. And their words don't necessarily sound like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed, I took on too much today, says, you know, the 4-year-old. So that's not what it sounds like. What it sounds like is, I hate you, butthead. That's using their words. And if they're saying that rather than pinching you or hitting you, believe it or not, that's progress. How do you an effective way to respond to this is to be an interpreter for how you imagine they might be feeling in that moment. To be able to say, when they look at you and say, I hate you, to be able to say, you are so mad because you were really hoping that we would be going to the park today, and I'm saying no. You're really upset. Yes, butthead. Why do you actually think that they're going to be able to articulate their feelings any differently when they're in the middle of having big feelings? Like I said, they can talk about their feelings when they're not in the vortex, but if they're in the vortex, that's not going to happen. It means that they're overwhelmed with the feelings take over their bodies, and they just simply can't put it into words. What do you do with this, and how do you help children mature? Because if you think about maturity, well, let me just backtrack. If you say somebody is acting childish, what does that actually mean? Well, it means that they are being driven by their emotions. Children act lustfully. Lust means that you're doing what feels good in the moment. It feels good to have a temper tantrum at Thrifty's. Lust is having that cookie right before dinner just because you just really want that cookie, and children don't think, oh, I better not have a cookie now, I'll ruin my dinner. So lust is the screaming and the yelling and all those things that you might get from kids. And we help them go past this stage by, again, articulating how they might be feeling, why they might be feeling that way, and eventually helping them manage their behavior. But behavior is how kids communicate. That's the first sign that you're going to get that something's going on. And just think about this. You as an adult, think about the last time you were in a bad mood. I can think about that. Last time I was in a bad mood, someone said to me, oh, you seem really grumpy right now. And I said, oh, really? I don't think so. And then when I stopped to think about it for a moment, I realized, actually, yes, I am feeling grumpy right now. I didn't even notice that I was feeling that way, but they noticed it in my body language. So it was going beyond me. I didn't even notice. And then I had to think about, why am I in this bad mood? And when did this bad mood start? Do you think kids can do that? They absolutely cannot. The day happens to them. All those things happen through the day for the non-adaptable kids where friends aren't being fair, and the hunger and the fatigue and the overwhelm, and suddenly they just lose it. A lot of people say to me, what do you do when the kid gets into the vortex and there's just no reasoning with that kid? Keep them safe. Keep yourself safe. Often when kids go into that vortex, though, they're just releasing all those stress hormones. And it's probably harder on you than it is on them. Actually, I worry more about the kids who don't release the stress hormones, who go inward, because they feel way better after they let it all out. Your tools, again, are looking at the triggers to see if you can manage the triggers. Your other tool is to use your reflective listening to go in and say things like, boy, you're looking a little upset. Are you disappointed? Was it that you wanted this? And just because you're going into the feelings doesn't mean you're caving with your limits, or that, you know, you're agreeing with them around their perspective of things. It just means you're acknowledging how they feel.